We are now logged into the system for Private Notebook, and you'll see that the very first view is your contacts pane. And you're going to see some records here, and don't freak out. These records do belong in your account. You're going to see something really similar to this, and all this is a few fake records that I've inserted to help orient you to the system. And the next couple of tutorials are going to teach you how to edit these or delete them or whatever, so they're out of your way. But you do need to have a handful of records just so you can kind of see what's going on. And what I'm going to do here is just kind of give you some grounding and familiarity with what these screens look like. So we're not going to try to do too much here. We're just going to kind of look around, and I'm just going to explain some stuff. Okay, so we're going to start out with this top pane here. So you came from purchasing this account, probably learning a little bit about Private Notebook. You probably explored these main tabs here for logging in. Maybe you sent me an inquiry at some point. You might have looked in the answer section to get to this tutorial. You probably hit the payment center at some point to actually purchase your account, and you may have seen a lead-in page about the system and about me and about what this tool can do for you. But now you're into the meat of the system, right? So you've logged in, and then this is the page that's presented to you. And you'll notice that we have three tabs here: contacts, groups, details. And those are three different types of forms that you'll see below here in this primary pane, where you can add in information. And we'll show you those in just a second. But what I really want to focus on here is this section, this upper section of privatenotebook.com that's above the actual record. So for this lesson, for this video, let's kind of not get too hung up on what you're seeing here in the lower windows, but let's look at the fact that Stephen Colbert is highlighted, and this record down below seems to reflect that highlighted record. And I bet if I click on one below, we see President John F. Kennedy is now shown in that pane if I click on that. And thusly, if I can go through the list, I've just added a handful of talk show hosts and a handful of presidents here, just for the purpose of demonstration. And you'll notice that we have 7 here, and you'll notice here that we also have insert new record or new contact button. We're not going to do that just yet. That'll be for a future video. But what I do want to show you right now is a search for keywords, or a search field here. So if I wanted to look for, talk show host by the name of Jimmy Kimmel, I could type in Jimmy Kimmel's name, and I could hit search, and Jimmy Kimmel would come up. All the other records would disappear because this is Kimmel-centric, right? We're just looking for all records that relate to Jimmy Kimmel. If I want to do something that's a little bit more broad or a little bit more vague, maybe I want to search for the letter J, and maybe I want to search for the letter J in first name. Do a search, and you'll see that we have 3 records where the first name has the letter J contained in it. So that's another way that we can navigate this system and see what's going on. Now, what happened to the other records right now? Initially, there were 7. The way I see all the records is I go back to the main contacts tab and I refresh from there. Now, there's something that you can't see right now, but you will see it a little bit later on. So understand that this only shows the first 10 records of your database. So at some point you may have more than 10 contacts in here. Where do they go? So I'm going to splice over, show you what that looks like with a larger database. Okay, so here's an example of what a record set looks like when you're actually looking at more than just a handful of records. You'll see here the total number of records that are being shown is 186 in this case. So this is an area where I'm tracking projects, and each one of these records has a little bit of information about that particular project. We've got 186 of those, and right now we're looking at records 1 through 10 of 186. If I click on this arrow just to the right, we're going to see 11 through 20. If I click again, we're going to see 21 through 30, and so on and so on. We can keep track of everything that's going on. If we want to hop all the way to the end of the record set, we can click the double arrows here. If we want to return back to the beginning, we can click here. So now that you have this dialed in, also realize that you can sort your records alphabetically or in reverse alphabetical order. You can also sort by when the record was created, oldest to newest, newest to oldest, And you can also sort by modification date. So if you know you went into an existing record, say a week ago, and you modified it not all that long ago, but that's all that you can remember, and you're looking for that record that you modified recently, that might be an effective way of sorting through and getting those to the top of the stack if you've got a bunch of records. So notice below we've got another pane for groups and details, and this deals with associations. It's a little bit more of a deeper concept that we'll get into the next videos, but this is the key. It's the genius of Private Notebook. It's what makes it think for you. It's what organically organizes all of your information. But it does indicate that we've got these other two tabs here available. So what would be under groups? Well, I'm going to click here. I made some groups. Interestingly, I made some groups of some presidents, and you remember seeing in the context pane some presidents. Interestingly, they're showing up here in this right-hand contact pane. There are some presidents there. And I bet if I clicked on television networks, okay, television networks is another group that was created at some point. For some reason, I wanted to identify people that are on TV, maybe. And so I've got 3 contacts here that are associated with that. If we look at details, I've only got 1 or 2 here. I've got a quick sample record that I've created. You'll see that there's no image that's been uploaded to that record yet. We'll get into more of that later. And we also have a Wikipedia biographical record. And if I click on that, I'll see that I did put some information here. It looks like it's about David Letterman. And interestingly, David Letterman appears over here in contacts. Ooh, kind of spooky, isn't it? Well, not so much. But just kind of like fiddle around with this interface, click these tabs, see what's there. Don't try to add anything. Don't try to modify anything. That's for the next couple of lessons. And you're going to learn by the end of these videos how this whole thing works and how these records just kind of magically appear in these spaces when you highlight another one. So if I look at David Letterman, ooh, wow, details, there's a Wikipedia biography there. How did that happen? So more about that later. This is exciting stuff. Click around a little bit, move on to video number 2, and we're going to modify some of these records. We're going to start working in these panes. We're going to create a couple of new records. So that'll be the next step.